All right. Good morning, Amsterdam. Really glad you all showed up this early. I really appreciate that. And to show that appreciation, I prepared a little story for you guys. And the story is about a tropical island. It's around, if you start in Africa, you have to sail 2,000 kilometers, go straight to Madagascar, and then another 1,000 kilometers. And then you end up on Mauritius. And Mauritius is an island that was not inhabited, at least not by humans. It's a beautiful island. If you think of a tropical island, this is basically what you think of. It's nice beaches, it has lush vegetation, it's just all around beautiful. But there are no humans, but that doesn't mean that nothing lived on the island. There is a special creature that I want to show you. Maybe you recognize this bird. It's a dodo. And the dodo is a bird, like I said. And it's a bird because it has all the characteristics of a bird. It has a beak, it has feathers, it lays eggs, it's warm-blooded. But there's one thing that this bird couldn't do, and that's the ability to fly. And when Nelly Furtado sang, "I'm like a bird," she wasn't talking about the ability to lay eggs or that she wanted to have feathers. When humans talk about being like a bird, we want to fly, we want to explore the world. It's the one thing we can't do as humans. And the story about the dodo is a little bit sad story, because around 1500, 1600, the Dutch explorers came and they brought dogs and rats and pigs and diseases. And the dodo had a problem because it never had any enemies. It thought it was a bird, it had all the characteristics of a bird, but it couldn't fly. And when it needed it most, the dodo couldn't fly away, and it died pretty quickly. I mean, it's extinct at this point. So that brings me to the title of my presentation. Use it or lose it. If you don't use something, you lose it. And that's okay if we don't value that ability. But if it's something important, like the ability to fly, you don't want to lose it. So we have to use it. And the dodo didn't use it, and it lost its ability to fly. So we're talking about Bitcoin here. So how does this story relate to Bitcoin? And I think to explain that to you, we need to do the same thing with Bitcoin that we did for the dodo. So let's see what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin. What are the characteristics of Bitcoin? I thought about this myself. I asked a lot of other Bitcoiners. And I think these are the most important ones. Bitcoin is permissionless. It has cryptographic security. It's immutable. It uses a blockchain. It's borderless. You can use it everywhere. It's open source, so everybody can participate without any... You don't have to ask someone to participate. It has proof of work. It's peer-to-peer. And all these things together combine to maybe the most important characteristic of Bitcoin, which is decentralization. I mean, we all value this, right? This is what Bitcoin is. I mean, if we don't believe in this, why even show up at 9 o'clock to a Bitcoin conference in Amsterdam? If we don't care about this, then just, yeah, why show up? Why are we here? So let's see if we are really using these characteristics. So let's do a health check. Let's start with Bitcoin mining, maybe the most pressing issue, I think, at this point. Bitcoin mining is becoming more and more centralized. How can we see that? That's pretty easy. Most of it is out in the open. So 4 mining pools, the parties that fill our blocks with transactions, basically the parties that decide which transactions go to a Bitcoin block, hold 80% of the hash rate. And this is a positive estimation. If we include some of the so-called proxy pools, it's basically 90 or 95%. If you look further, one layer down, at the actual Bitcoin miners, 25% of global hash rate is produced by 10 US-listed companies. Sure, they are Bitcoin-minded, but they also have shareholders, and they want a return on their investment. So maybe they won't make the best choice for us Bitcoiners. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, they want to make a profit. That's why they're shareholders. The second thing in this health check is that there's a lack of self-custody. Coinbase at this point holds more than 2 million Bitcoin, around 1 million for customers and 1 million for ETFs. 90% of the ETFs, I think 10 out of 11, use Coinbase for their custody. Binance holds 600,000 Bitcoin. Most Lightning Network payments on Nostr, but also in this event, are done with custodial wallets. Why? Because it's easy. Brings me to my next point. We don't really use Bitcoin for payments. Bitcoin is digital gold. Get as much of it as you can and never sell. And that's, if you look at these kind of keynotes, so Michael Saylor is saying 30 million base case, just wait 7 years. Yeah, I mean, why would I sell it if it's 30 million in a couple of years? Why would I use it? Even Donald Trump is now telling, never sell your Bitcoin. He did that in Nashville, and the whole crowd got up and started clapping. But the thing is, gold's securities model is not dependent on usage. Gold has infinite inflation. It will get out of the ground year after year. Gold doesn't have 21 million hard cap. But, you guess it, the security model of Bitcoin is dependent on usage. In 8 years, the block subsidy will become less than 1 Bitcoin. At some point, we're at 21 million. That's pretty fast. Not in 2140. No, it's in 10, 15 years. Who is going to pay the miners if nobody is using Bitcoin, if everybody has it in a safe? Nobody. I mean, we need to think of something. And I think the smartest thing to do is actually start using it. Because the mempool looks like this. I checked it last week. This is how it looks for the past couple of months. Maybe it's a bit small, but I can tell you what I want to show. 2 set per vbyte, 2 set per vbyte, 2, 2. For every block. The fee to get in is 2 set per vbyte. And if there were no ordinals, it would be 1. The lowest fee you can get. That's a total of $2,000 per block. That's 1% of the total block reward. So we have 99% subsidy and 1% fee. I mean, not really looking good at this point. So, you know what this all means? Is that we are slowly using or losing the ability to fly. We are becoming a dodo, basically. So back to this slide. If we don't start using Bitcoin, and if the mining pools get more centralized, and if the miners get bigger, and if we are using more ETFs and more custody and don't self-custody, don't run our nodes, don't use Bitcoin, don't spend it, we will start to lose everything that we hold dear, that we value about Bitcoin. And in the end, we will also lose the decentralization. We're basically stuck with digital gold. And that's fine, maybe, sure. I mean, we probably get rich, but is that really why we're here for? Only to get rich? Is that the only thing that we care about? I mean, if yes, then it's fine. I mean, the ETFs will probably go up, but it's all KYC. The miners maybe have there is already regulation also for miners, also nice hash having KYC at this point. I mean, think about it. Use it or lose it. What a fun way to start this day, right? It's a little bit, thank you, but. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. Are there any solutions? The first thing is we still have time. At this point, we are digital gold because there is still subsidy, the block subsidy. Satoshi is still helping us, basically. We still get every block $200,000 or 3.125 Bitcoin. That will pay for the miners. And if the price goes up a little, then maybe even in the next halving period as well. So we have around 10 years. But we need to do something. We all, the people that are crazy enough to go to Bitcoin conferences, talk about it, Like, if we want mass adoption, but we don't self-custody, if we don't run nodes, if we don't spend Bitcoin, how can we expect our family, friends, colleagues to start using it, right? Let's look in the mirror and start using it. To do that, I present to you the holy Bitcoin trifecta. It's pretty simple, and basically 3 things that you can do that were pretty difficult 10 years ago, and that are really simple, are getting simpler every moment. First thing, run a Bitcoin node. It makes the network more decentralized, and secondly, it's basically your pathway to the blockchain. This is the way to send your own transactions to the blockchain. I mean, we all have our own phone, right? We're not using someone else's phone to make private calls, so why are we using someone else's node to make private transactions? It's weird. So run a node. Raspberry Blitz, Umbrel, it's so much better than it was. It costs you $150. Maybe even less if you do it on an old laptop or something. Second thing, self-custody. This is even easier. For 50 euros, 60 euros or dollars, you have a Trezor or a Ledger or a Cold Card or whatever. Choose one and self-custody. I mean, if someone else holds your Bitcoin, then it's kind of a bank, right? That was the whole point. Why did we start 15 years ago? Self-custody. Last thing, and that's kind of new, run a miner. And this one is difficult, because if you start to run a miner, you will see instantly how enormous this industry is. We need 90 million bit access, the small miners, to even make a dent in global hash rate. But that realization is what we need to actually start thinking about this problem, instead of just waving it away. We'll be fine. I mean, yeah, 2 pools, 10 miners, yeah, who cares? Yeah, we should care. Because they are, in the end, in control of what gets into a block. And that's the most important thing for me. Start spending your Bitcoin. Spend it. It's money, right? Why won't we spend our money? Yeah, I'd rather spend my dirty fiat, dirty dollars. And I think that's wrong. Because the thing with money is, you can spend it, but you can also earn it. And if you earn more than you spend, you can save. Like, it's a completely different mindset. So spend it here. Go to the merchants, buy your beer, buy your hamburgers, buy stuff with Bitcoin. If we don't use it, we lose it. So I ask you, all the people that are here at 9 a.m., the core of Bitcoin, we need to use Bitcoin, because otherwise we are becoming a dodo. We're becoming extinct. We lose our ability to fly. And sure, Bitcoin will exist, but is it really in the way that we want it to exist? I think that's a question we all have to answer for ourselves. So I want to thank you. I want to wish you a very great second day. Have a great night in Amsterdam if you're staying. And let's use it so we don't lose it. Thank you.